Hey everybody, trying out the natural light this morning. It's a weekend and oh, there we go. It's a little brighter there now. It's a little better, I think, maybe, right? Let me know what you think. Usually what I do is I record these videos once I've come home from work and it's dark out and I've got all the artificial light going on, and but it's the weekend. So I open up the blinds and I'm getting some natural light, which is probably good because they say that kills the virus over time, but I probably won't get enough of it anyway. But two things today that I really want to talk about is because I live in North America and I'm watching what's going on in North America. I travel primarily in North America a lot. And so I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about, as you probably see from the thumbnail, is ultraviolet lights. And I just bought one. I haven't received it yet. I have some air filtration with the light inside. And so we can talk about that a little bit too. But first, let's talk travel, because I know that's what most of you want to hear about. So yeah, canceled my trip next week to Denver. Done, canceled. Not going. It was actually really kind of coming from the organization. As the risk goes up, they're saying all travel is canceled. And that's a pretty big statement, right? So what that means is all employees are no longer really traveling. Sure, there's a little bit of travel, but I would say probably single-digit percentage of what it was, which is pretty dramatic. And when I'm talking to people about their holidays and things like that, everybody's in cancellation mode. So of the 3 trips that I had planned in the immediate future, I had one to Denver, one to Germany, and one to Latvia. And Latvia's canceled, Denver's canceled, and Germany is next week. And like everybody, I want to go to that destination, but I'm thinking that I might not. I'm so on the fence with it, right? Because right now, this is what I'm thinking. To be honest, this is what I'm thinking. This virus is going to be around for a while. Is it going to be seasonal? Are we going to get a break in the summer? Maybe, but no indication of that. Even if we do, it's coming back next year. So if you didn't get it now, you're going to get it later because there won't be a vaccine in time, right? So there's that. So if I don't go on my trip right now, sure, there's a risk, but that risk is only going to get bigger as people sneeze on more surfaces, as more people get infected, and there's a chance of reinfection because there seems like there's different strains now and stuff like that. So, I just think if I don't go now, I'm not going for a year or maybe 2, right? And that's a long time to not go to Germany or not go to like some great place like that, right? And so I'm not excited about that at all. So that's why I'm on the fence. I shouldn't go because there's risk to going. And when I get home, I'd have to self-quarantine inside of a room, inside of my house, away from my family for 2 weeks. That's not fun either. So I don't know. Probably won't go, but I want to go. Anyway, use your own judgment. Do what you want to do. But a lot of people are not traveling. So that means a huge economic impact to the world economy. Just that alone, right? Already saw one small airline go out of business, and it's early days, right? We just started and it's gone out of business. So that tells you something, right? A lot of companies are leveraged. The economy's been good. We've been growing. I touch my face. Don't touch your face. So yeah, so we've got that problem. So we're going to be expecting some economic impact. Everybody's talking about recession. It's the beginning of the end, all that stuff. Maybe. But let's just take it a day at a time, right? Like I'm all about preparing for worst case scenario. But for that sort of thing, let's just take it one day at a time and do what we can and try to plan accordingly. But it's really hard to see what that's going to mean. If you've got stocks in the market, probably don't freak out too much. I mean, you should be playing the long term anyway if you've got stocks, right? So it's going to go back up eventually. It's a good time to buy. I wouldn't buy necessarily right now. I would slowly start to watch the market. It's going to go down some more inevitably, right? So just be ready for that. So for travel, everybody's reducing. Travel, airports should start to become pretty slow, right? And that's what I'd recommend as well. Just especially if you've got family at home, if you've got elderly people that are dependents of yours, that's a big consideration, right? So there's that. And here in North America, The travel, it was international at first, but now it's domestic. So now I'm no longer traveling between the US and Canada. So there's that. And why I think that we're in a lot of trouble here in North America is because we have not taken this seriously. We had months of opportunity to see what China was doing, to see the drastic measures that China took to contain this. And why do you want to contain it? Just as a reminder, because a lot of people don't understand why we need to contain it. A lot of people are saying, well, let's just let's let the virus run its course and infect everybody, and then we're all immune to it, right? Isn't that a good idea? No, 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 it's not. This is why. Okay, it's the velocity. So if we're looking at a virus with an R naught of like 4 to 6, that means I won't draw it all out, but it's going to infect more people more quickly, and much more contagious than the flu. And that's the problem. So that in and of itself is not the problem. The infection rate, yeah, sure, that sounds bad, but why? Why would that be bad? Because a lot of those people, well, I won't say a lot, I'll say some of those people will develop complications that need a hospital visit. So maybe they need a ventilator, maybe they need some medicine, whatever it is, right, that they're using these days for that, to try to allow your lungs to recover. A lot of people are going to go to the hospital, even if they just think they have the virus. Maybe they don't. Maybe they just think they do. So 2 problems from that, right? 1, your hospitals are now overrun. Your hospitals can't keep up. And now you're also infecting the hospitals that are not designed to cope with this sort of pandemic, right? A whole bunch of reasons why. A, they don't have the protective gear. B, people are not everybody's going to show up. So some people who have small kids, older parents, too high a risk for them, they're not going to show up. So now you're understaffed, and they don't have the bed space either, right? So they don't have a place to put everybody. So it's immediate triage, and that gets really nasty. Okay, so that's why we don't want everybody sick at the same time. But that's where it's going, because we're not really taking control of the situation. We're letting the virus dictate what's going to happen in North America, and that is really bad news. So still haven't lost my cough. No other symptoms. I've had this cough. It's slowly getting better, which is pretty typical of me. And usually a cough will linger with me for a little while. Some of the viewers have said, Rob, you're sick. What's going on? You got corona? No, I don't think so. I mean, I have no other symptoms at all. And none of my family have any symptoms. And, I've been with them extensively for months now. And the cough is slowly getting better. I find when I talk, and I talk a lot at work, that's when I get it. Usually I have a glass of water or a cup of coffee, and that helps a lot. But whenever I do have the flu, which I had about 2 months ago, I do get if it has a cough with it, that lingers with me longer than other people. I don't know why, but that's what I got going on. So that's why I'm not too excited about what's going on in North America. We saw China, extensive testing. We see Korea, extensive testing. And we saw Japan, extensive testing. We see all these countries that don't apparently have as good of healthcare systems as we do. We like to say in North America that we've got the best healthcare system in the world. Really, I don't see that at all. Like, what I see is the worst of all the developed countries that are now dealing with this, right? I just see us being, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting people. I don't mean to do that. I know a lot of people that work in the industry. They are excellent people. They do their best. They're doing a great job. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody like that. What I'm saying is I think that our system has some critical flaws in it. And I think that our government is not taking this seriously. And we've seen that from the messaging, of course, right? And we don't need to debate it. All we have to do is wait a few weeks. And I will be either proven wrong or not. And if I'm totally wrong about this, right, call me on it. I'll say sorry. And, you can tease me forever. But if I'm right, that means lots of people are going to die. So that's not good. So I'm disappointed in what I see going on. And I see it at every level. So I've got kids in school. And when I'm looking at the ingress points for this virus to get past our defenses, I'm looking at, okay, what about me? Okay, I travel a lot. That's a risk. Reduce travel. Okay. If I do travel, I'm going to self-quarantine. I'm going to do a bunch of things, constant cleaning, alcohol wipes, respirator, separate bathroom, separate towels. I'm going to do all those things, right? So that's my defense for me as the family member. My wife, she's going to stay put. She's bought a bunch of groceries and things like that. So she's going to limit her exposure going out. And when she does go out, full gear, you know, respirator, gloves, all that sort of stuff. When she visits her friends, sometimes they trade goods and stuff, cooking and things like that. They just leave it on the doorstep. And so they're not interacting with each other directly. Great, you know, great measure. So that's her. She's got that covered. But our kids go to school. And of course, as we've seen, and this is not just, you know, guesswork or anything like that. What we've seen is in confined spaces, cruise ships, jails, senior homes, and I can go on. We've seen example after example of when you've got people in a room like that. Oh, planes. But we've seen that that's generally not good. It's like a little petri dish of nastiness, right? So schools are high risk. So what we see in Japan is they just said, okay, let's close the schools and do school from home, just like you would do work from home. And hey, Seattle, great job. I see a lot of, you know, as bad as Seattle is, you know, it's now the new epicenter of badness in the US as far as infections. They are doing some good things. Seattle Times, removing the paywall from articles on coronavirus so people can get as much information as possible. Hey, things like that, awesome job, right? Amazon, Google, Facebook telling all their employees, just go work from home now. Let's not wait, now. Oh, amazing, amazing. So there's some smart people out there doing great work. So to those people, congratulations. You've saved lives. You won't know how many lives you've saved, which is the bummer to all this, right? But know that you have because of those actions, right? To be reactive right now is too late, too late. So you have to actually be active and anticipate the virus, right? You need to, you know, as one of the great videos on YouTube is circulating right now, it's the guy quoted that we're at war with the virus. Yes, that's a good way to look at it, right? Why not? Why not? I mean, we saw more deaths from the Spanish flu than we did from World War I, and I think World War II, right? So, and the steps we need to take in order to battle against it and make our society safe is very much like war measures, okay? So, yeah, that's a good approach. So good job, Seattle, in those areas. Terrible job in testing, of course, but that's kind of after the fact. So, and I hope that your state and federal government actually step up there and the CDC fixes their stuff or fires all their people and gets new people in there that can actually do their job. That'd be good. But hey, I don't know. I'm not in that organization, so I'm sure there was a reason for your utter failure. But yeah, let's move forward. So North America, you know, I'm a little worried. My kids are in school. Let's get back to that. My kids are in school. That's one of my concerns as far as bringing the virus into the house, right? So I'm covered. My wife's kind of covered. The kids, they're going to this school with thousands of people. Somebody in that school is going to be infected, if not today, tomorrow. They won't show any symptoms for 2 weeks or up to 2 weeks, let's say, right? The risk is up to 2 weeks. It could be instantly they have symptoms, in which case they won't get tested anyway. And the people will say, oh, you just have the flu. Don't worry about it, which is happening over and over and over again, which is just completely ridiculous and is going to result in death and suffering. So that's bad. Like, sorry, I just get a little emotional about that because I just think it's utter incompetence by our people that are looking after that area. So that's what's going to happen is we're going to have a massive outbreak in the schools. And so I inquired about that. What's the procedure for school from home? What would trigger that? And what's the schedule look like for that? And do you have the capacity as far as your systems to be able to support that? So if you're working from home, you know, the IT department needs to look at their VPN capacity because now everybody's going to be on the VPN. Same with schools. They need to look at, well, how are our teachers supporting that? And do we have the infrastructure to be able to do that? Are people knowledgeable about how to do it? So now is the time to train people on how to do that, right? So obviously, because not everybody's going to be clued into that. So what buttons do I push? What link do I go to? Is there a how-to somewhere? Like, this is what everybody should be talking about right now, but nobody is because we seem to be like idiots when it comes to viruses. Sorry, but it's true, right? Like people are still saying, oh, it's just like the flu. No, dumbass, it's not. It's like 20 times worse. It's highly infective and it's going to kill your grandma. So get it together. Anyway, whew. I should have another coffee. Anyway, so I asked those questions and didn't really get any answers. It was like, you always get treated like you're crazy. Either you're crazy or you just you're not knowledgeable, probably, right? So you get the links to the government guidance, which is, again, stupid. Don't wear a mask, wash your hands. It's all good. We got it totally covered. Yeah, no, you don't. No, you don't. Not at all, right? So I saw a funny stat the other day. It's not funny, actually, pretty sad. That said the decision makers for these things, as far as messaging and stuff like that, are all in kind of the worst category for infection and serious complications. So you think of anybody, those people would be going, maybe we should get out in front of this because I might die or my relatives might die. But no, none of that. None of that, surprisingly enough. Hard to understand. But anyway, so the school systems, are going to get a lot of infections. And kids seem to do pretty well with this virus from what we've seen. So why am I so worried about that? Because they're carriers, right? When your kids go to school, how quickly are you getting sick? Almost instantly, right? And you're getting sick from something like every month because your kids are bringing it home from school, right? And they do pretty good because they're durable, right? They're kids, they're made out of rubber. But you're not anymore, right? You're probably middle age, and then you might have other dependents living with you that are seniors, or maybe you visit your seniors, and maybe within that 2-week period you infect them, and that wouldn't be good, right? So that's why I'm doing this, right? Why I get concerned. And so I actually emailed the principal and just kind of informed them that, hey, these are some things to think about. And I know it will just go into the bin, delete, right? Here's another crazy parent. But again, sure, fine. Don't believe me? Wait a few weeks, right? And then let's see who's reading our emails then, right? But then it's too late. Then you have death and chaos and suffering. So yeah, I wish people would take it a little more seriously. Look at Japan, right? They had a big bloom in infections. They took some action, and now things are getting better slowly, right? Pretty drastic measures. I'm sure it was very inconvenient for some people. I'm sure it cost people money. I'm sure people didn't like it, right? Here we send our kids to school, so then we have the luxury of being able to go to work or just get on with their day or whatever, right? If they're at home, oh, geez, now we have to supervise them, right? Or somebody has to. Maybe, right? So there's that. And I'm sure that's why a lot of schools are not doing this right away. But that's the price you have to pay to get in front of this. Otherwise, you won't. And it really seems like in North America, we've chosen, let's just not do anything and let's let the infection take its course. And just let's let the hospitals handle what then falls on them, right? But that's not going to work, obviously, right? And it's not only not like I think the vision is, well, it's just going to fall in the hospitals and they will do their best to take care of it. No, they won't. Like they won't even show up. That's the problem, right? So there's been some memos out there, and you can Google this, where certain healthcare facilities in the States are publishing their guidance on PPE, right? So your masks, your gloves, your goggles, and they're saying, well, at the very least, let's have the patient wear the mask. You don't really need to wear a mask. No, you do. And not only is it scientifically proven that you do need to wear a mask, but the unions in North America, unlike China, we have unions that help govern the safety of the workers, won't let you go to work without them, right? So if those are not there, you're not doing anything, right? Because of the obvious risk. Now, I'm not going to debate whether that's the best thing or not, right? There's obviously some concerns all over that picture, right? So, and that's a whole other problem. But there's that. So the hospitals are not going to absorb this risk, right? Let's say everybody does show up, right? And it just is going to be Wuhan all over again, right? Which is not good. So that's bad. I think that the other problem that I am seeing more in the U.S. than Canada now, and I'm not saying that that Canada is any better than the U.S. in any way. Like even though I live in Canada for most of the time, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of our healthcare system, and I know I'm going to get so many angry people with that. It's good, and nothing's perfect out there right now, and I think for this virus, it may be slightly better than the U.S. system, and this is why, because you theoretically should be able to get tested for free, so we could then identify who's infected and then manage that. If we can't see, we can't manage, right? But in the U.S., I think and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there is a hesitancy by citizens to get tested because there's a cost, or they perceive there's a cost, and that's going to cause a growing number of people to be infected and spread the disease without detection, which is the main problem, right? We're past the containment stage. Now we're in the stage where we're just trying to slow it down from mowing us over, right? And in order to do that, you need to be able to see what's going on. So I'm tending to think that the pay-per-use sort of model in the U.S., which I'm actually a big fan of, and we could go into great details on that, and that's a great debate, right? I think there's still huge room for improvement on how all the models work, but I think that the component of pay-per-use could be deterring some lower income people from getting tested. That's what I think, and I think that could be a risk. I think that in countries where you can get tested for free and the government is going to absorb that cost, I think that's going to be more effective, obviously, right? Because there's no deterrent necessarily then. If that's not the case in the U.S., please let me know, and I would really like to know about that. Because I know that CDC has dropped the ball, and there's a huge shortage of testing kits, and they screwed up the testing kits and all that, and I get that, and I think that's a huge, probably the biggest problem right now. But I think the secondary problem is the lack of incentive to get tested if you think it's going to cost you a lot of money, because you're thinking in your head probably, well, it might be the flu, and if I get tested and they just say, oh no, it's the flu, I've wasted a bunch of money. And even if it's not the flu, everybody's saying, well, this is not a serious disease, you'll probably just have mild symptoms, blah blah blah, until you don't, and then you're screwed. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking there. So a whole bunch of variables there why I think North America is going to be in a world of trouble, right? We're not testing, and I don't see that ramping up anywhere near fast enough, right? So basically, I think that battle is now lost. I think even if we do our best right now, I am all for just going full out, and if we want to change our mindset today and just go for it, I would strongly recommend that, but I don't think anybody will, based on what I see. I see a lot of words and no action. So I hope we change our approach. So lack of testing, that's a big problem. Lack of being active rather than just reactive in the school systems, right? In these areas of mass gathering. We've already said we don't want to have big mass gatherings. We're looking at the Olympics in Japan. We're looking at, NBA has said they may stop having the audience. And there's all these things I'm hearing about, right? In a lot of countries, they're saying under 1,000 people, things like that, some arbitrary number. But, we're starting to see all those things because we obviously realize that if you're in a confined space with a bunch of other people, that's high risk. However, we're not really talking about what it's going to look like at the schools, which is just going to mean we're just pouring gas on the fire, right? And so there's that. And so that's all these things. Like if we were to copy what we see, not even China, if we were to copy what we see in, say, Korea, drive-through testing stations, brilliant on so many levels, right? Fantastic. Speed up the process for testing as well. Like we have the infrastructure, we have the know-how, we have the drive, we have all the amazing people in North America. Like I've seen some amazing things. We're capable of doing so much more than we are. And I don't know why. I think that, imagine that the death and suffering that we could prevent if the right people stepped up and took control of this, but that's not happening. So start buying toilet paper. So yeah, so that's why I think North America's in a world of trouble. There's probably a bunch of other reasons why as well. But you know, that's primarily it. Oh, I almost forgot my latest purchase. So, you know, what do you do when you're stuck at home and you know, Amazon beckons, right? So a little retail therapy, and I bought myself a UV light for killing bacteria. So the and it's on a little timer. So if you're looking for a UV light, here's some things to think about, right? It takes a long time for it to kill stuff, and so what you want is either a powerful one for a particular room or something that is close to the areas that you're touching. The little wand things, I really don't think those are that effective. What I do think is effective is, one, having it in your air purification system as the air is coming through. It's then hitting it with that ultraviolet light. I don't think it's very healthy for you as a person to be exposed to that. So go Google that sort of stuff. But I think that having it in your filtration system, and I bought some of those too for the different bedrooms, I think that's a good idea. They're not cheap, so you know, if it's going to really hit your pocketbook, then think about it. But my wife has bad allergies. They have HEPA filters, and she's noticed a big difference in her allergies already, right? So when she wakes up, she's not plugged up, and it's been a benefit already. So not a bad purchase there, I think. I don't think I wasted a bunch of money. But on the UV light just by itself, there's one which actually moves and it targets a beam of light around the room, and it kind of rotates around. And I think that sounded really interesting because it's a concentrated light beam that's hitting the surfaces, and the air filtration system don't hit the surfaces, but this light that's focused would. You can also get what look like kind of like fluorescent light. They're long lights that you could put on the ceiling or on the wall, and that's what I bought just because it was a lot cheaper, and I think it was about $50. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it here in this office, so, and I'll have it on a timer, so it comes on at night. So it's going to hit all my keyboards, my counter space, all the little things I'm touching all the time, right? And so during that 2-week period when I am, you know, say infected but not showing symptoms, there's a chance that this could then disinfect those surfaces so other people are not getting infected when they touch them. That's the idea. And there's been some studies that I've read where they studied this, and one of the reasons why this is so infectious is that when you're breathing and, you know, especially coughing or sneezing, it is just littering, you know, particles everywhere. And so, you know, every surface probably has some bad stuff on it. And so that's why I think these are kind of attractive. So I would take a look at that, but really kind of Google it first, figure out, okay, well, how far away from the counter does it need to be? And how long would it then take to disinfect that surface? I think that's really what you want to know, and then make a decision on, okay, well, how many watts or kilowatts or whatever, how much power does the light need to draw? How big does it need to be? And then, you know, where are you going to focus it? So I would say areas like keyboards, office space, bathrooms. I think that those are areas where you know, you've got a lot of stuff going on, and you could be infecting counter space. I've heard people talk about windowsills, railings, so stairwell railings that you're putting your hands on, doorknobs, steering wheels, things like that. I kind of manage that in a different way. So I have some sanitary wipes that I use for wiping down those surfaces, and so that's how I do that. And I keep some of those wipes in my car, in my suitcase, and so I'm always kind of thinking about it. When I go to eat especially, I'm kind of careful with my hands, and I'm wiping my hands, washing my hands, and doing kind of that. And the thing I'm still struggling with is not touching my face. So as you may have seen in these videos, like, I'm always touching my face. They say don't touch your face. And there was a funny video the other day where somebody down in Seattle, one of the government people, was saying, yeah, just don't touch your face. And then she did this. And there's a bunch of memes about that, actually, but you know, it's quite entertaining. So I'm still working on that. But anyway, that's it. So that's why I think North America is headed for bad news. I hope we can get our act together. I hope you stay safe, you know, regardless of what we see in the greater environment. If you can stay at home, work at home, school at home, those are all good things to do, right? Make sure you've got some, you know, some food and stuff like that at home. So a lot of people are buying water and toilet paper. The toilet paper I get, because if you're sick, you know, you've got fluids coming out of every orifice. You're probably doing number 1 and 2 more than you normally would because you're hydrating more. So I get it. You know, have a little extra toilet paper. I don't think you necessarily need a lot. If you've got tissue paper, that's going to work in a pinch as well, right? If you run out of every sort of disposable paper, you still have socks, right? I mean, it's not pretty, but you know, it's possible. You know, a soap bottle that you can squeeze. You get that rid of the soap. You put some water in that. You got a little makeshift bidet. You know, that would work in a pinch too. But yeah, so there's that. Where was I going with that? You're not going to tell me, are you? Okay, forget it. Let's end this video. That's 30 minutes. And I think that's enough for today. So again, if you like any of what I'm saying, please just give me a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, that's even better. If you have comments on anything I got wrong, just call me on it. I'm not going to get defensive. I really like to hear, you know, if I made any errors. And if you want me to talk about anything else or show anything else, products, destinations, anything like that, I hope to get some traveling pretty soon as they stop canceling my travel, and be able to show more videos of destinations. I've got a big backlog of stuff. I'm going to show you Paris. I'm going to show you St. John's. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of places that I've got on video and where you can go, deals to get, all that stuff. I want to talk about points, how to collect those, what makes that effective, all that stuff. But yeah, hopefully soon I'll have some time to do that. But let me know what you'd like to see sooner than later. Other than that, stay safe and happy travels.